Hello?
What's your favorite scary movie?
Let the power of Christ compel you!
Hi, I'm Chucky, and I'm your friend to the end. Hiding home.
Here's Johnny.
I cast you out!
Welcome to Fright Night.
They mostly come at night. Mostly.
Can you be scary?
Oh, I know you're asking me. Can I be scary? What do you think of this? You like it?
Hello and welcome to a very special Monday movie show. The reason why it's special is because it's on a Wednesday, and we're celebrating Frightfest of sorts. They released the details of Frightfest a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, I should have done a show a couple of weeks ago about the lineup of Frightfest, but I'm very lazy to be honest, and I have loads of other podcasts to do. But I thought I would get together and do a Frightfest special. But Andy's not with me because Andy's a little girly girl and he doesn't like horror films. Instead, I have Stuart from Page to Screen.
Hello. So Andy's a girly girl. I mean, we often hear on your show how he doesn't like films. He got freaked out by Mama, I believe, didn't he?
Yeah, he's a right girly girl when it comes to horrors. He says he doesn't like the horrors where it's like supernatural, where it scares you, but he doesn't mind cross genres, so like sci-fi horrors, things like Aliens. Those are fine, but comedy horrors maybe are fine as well, but ones which will scare you, he'll just run for the exit.
Is he the same with comedies, where he doesn't like comedies that make him laugh, or
that's
action
me.
films that excite him? Is that you? You don't like films?
Yeah, I don't like comedy films that make me laugh, because they don't exist.
There's not many of them around, is there? There's not many comedies that make people laugh around nowadays. But horror time, yes. Film 4, Frightfest. Yeah,
we're here to talk about the Frightfest festival that's held on the... Well, it is actually a festival now, considering what it used to be like. It's something like its 20th year or something, isn't it?
I think so. According to the PR stuff, I think it's its 14th, because they've put this really weird thing with like teenth and a number 4 in front of it. So it's pretty cool with it being Film 4. But yeah, it's been running many, many, many years. So I don't know how it started off. Have you looked into what it actually began like?
I know I've watched a few interviews and things like that with the people involved with Frightfest, because the Horror Channel has been sponsoring them for the last few years as well. And they've done a few interviews with them, and I can't remember why he decided to... I think his whole idea to set it up was down to the fact that there was not very many festivals in the UK, especially ones devoted to horror. And so he thought he would set it up and didn't expect it to be this large and go on for this long. Which I think that's true.
Very, very well. I think if he'd have sat down with you many years ago and sort of said, do you think the horror festival would be a good idea? You'd have been nodding your head off, wouldn't you? You'd be like, yes. Probably from the age of 2, actually, you would have been nodding your head off when you're watching Elm Street.
Yeah, but it's sort of like the same kind of thing that means you have a problem with British films. The fact that over the last few years, there is more and more British films that get made. It's the same with horror in general, specifically British horror. I think Frightfest has become a much more brilliant ground for showing off British horror, because of the fact that there is more and more British horror getting made now.
There is. I mean, we all hear about the big Paranormal Activity 1, 2, 3, 4 and Scream 1, 2, 3, 4 and all the big franchise ones. But I mean, you asked me to look down some of these films that are coming on Frightfest. And I'll be honest, I haven't heard of that many of them, which in one way could be some really, really good surprises, because there's not many franchise films in there. But yeah, it is an awesome way to just showcase films that generally wouldn't see the light of day. Pardon the weird, spooky night pun or whatever.
Well, the best thing to do is to actually kick off with the opening film. It's on the 22nd of August. That's when Frightfest kicks off. And it's The Dead to India. Have you seen the original, The Dead?
I haven't. I mean, probably a couple of months back, the company that's dealing with the distribution of The Dead to India sent me the PR stuff through. And I'll be honest, I hadn't heard of the first one. And I did actually put that in the blog, saying, I will be honest, I have not even heard of the first one. I mean, I do like horror films. I'm not as knowledgeable. I'm certainly not as knowledgeable as you are with them. I mean, I was watching Disney films and stuff when I was a kid. You were into your slasher movies and stuff. But are you familiar with The Dead? I'm guessing it was just called The Dead.
Yeah, it was called The Dead Africa. This one's called The Dead to India. I reviewed The Dead Africa, and I just thought it was a terrible zombie film.
Uh-oh.
As a matter of fact, it's a very small scale zombie film done on a really low budget, and you can definitely tell it's done on an extremely low budget. And this was one of the, because they released a 15 reel trailer where they showed like 15 trailers from some of the films that are out of the 51 films that are on show, and The Dead 2 was part of it, and it just doesn't look anything special at all.
No, I mean, I got the trailer and the blurb and stuff like that, and because I wasn't fully familiar with the first one, I didn't really delve into it that much. I mean, you just mentioned there 51 films. There's got to be a lot there that would whet your appetite. Do you think you'd be able to watch them all?
Well, no, because it wouldn't be possible. If they showed them like all on one screen and spaced them out over like a couple of weeks, because that's what they would have to do to show all 51 films in that case. But because Frightfest is now over more than 4 or 5 screens, there's films that are going to clash with each other. So
I wonder how many horror films do you think you could watch over that sort of 4-day period?
Oh, I would need a gap of sorts, but I could manage easily 20, 25. Easily.
That is awesome.
What
And
about
Andy
you?
would probably manage none. I think he might be okay if Paranorman or something was showing.
Yeah.
Maybe.
What about you? How many could you manage over that period of time?
I think in a day, I mean, I think the most I've ever watched in a day is about 8 films. Whether I could carry that on over a 4-day period is another guess. I think probably half a dozen a day I could easily watch and write and tweet about and stuff. So probably similar amount to yourself, maybe 20, 24 films, something like that.
Yeah, and they announced the closing film at Frightfest is Big Bad Wolves, which is on the 26th of August. So I think the show's at 9 o'clock, and that's when the last film is going to be shown. Do you know anything about Big Bad Wolves?
I know nothing about that, other than I'm guessing it's a werewolf film.
Sort of.
Much, yeah.
It's have you heard of
Sort
a film
of.
called Rabies?
Called what, sorry?
Rabies.
Rabies.
Yeah,
No.
Rabies. Rabies.
Yes, the disease, sort of.
Yeah. Well, that
I
was
haven't
from. It was Israel's first horror film. I reviewed it about a month and a half ago, and it was a decent enough attempt. It was like a slasher film. It had a little twist in it. Tried to do something different with a slasher film, like with the intro that I played there. It had a bit from Scream, and that sort of like reinvented the slasher film again. Well, this was from the directors of Rabies, and it was all right. And this one looks really interesting. It's about 3 serial killers who team up to try and track down this other serial killer. So they're sticking with serial killers, but it's very dark comedy kind of thing. So it's an Israel dark comedy horror.
That does sound good. I like the sound of serial killers teaming up.
Yeah, it
Does appeal.
It does look interesting. Is there anything on the 51 film list that took your attention, grabbed your attention?
Well, not necessarily a film I'd rush out and watch, because I watched the first one and it kind of unnerved me so much I actually pressed the stop button. But I noticed they've done a follow-up to I Spit on Your Grave. That kind of interests me to know a little bit more about that one. I mean, the first one, as in like the remake, there's a previous 1970s version which I saw many, many years ago. The remake was harsh, and I'm just curious to know how they've spun this second one. Is it a different woman, the same stuff happens to her, or is it the same woman from the first one and she has another awful day? I mean, with horror films, for me, go on.
I was going to say I can actually fill in that gap because I do know what the film is actually about. It's a completely different woman. It's about a woman who goes for a modelling job, and during this modelling job, it gets completely out of hand. She is brutally tortured, raped. So, like in the first, I Spit on Your Grave, but instead of it being in the forest, this time it's in the modelling agency. And then she gets kidnapped and sent to a country, unknown country, where she's buried alive. She then decides to seek revenge.
Ouch. So, what do you think about that? Are you going to watch the second one? Did you watch the first one?
Yeah, I've seen both the original and the remake. I thought the stupid thing about the remake, and I don't mind giving this away because a lot of people keep on saying this, is the microwave death. It's ridiculous that death, the microwave death in the film. And it is pretty brutal, but I remember, isn't the tagline for the original I Spit on Your Grave, just keep on telling yourself it's only a film? it's only a film.
No, I think that was Last House on the Left,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
that was Last
For
House
that
on the
one.
Left.
It's only
Yeah,
a movie.
was.
It's only a movie. It's only a movie.
Yeah.
What was the I Spit on Your Grave did have a tagline, and I've forgotten it because it was originally called something of the woman, wasn't it? The Day of the Woman, or something along those lines. And I Spit on Your Grave. What was the tagline for that one? Let me have a look.
Right.
But it was Last House on the Left that had that tagline.
Yeah, because
go
they've both got very similar kind of feels to them, don't they?
Certainly do. They're both harsh and not a date movie by any means.
Yeah, Last House on the Left was done by Wes Craven as well. It was one of his first films. So
It was. And I only watched that for the first time maybe 2 years ago. I'd never, ever seen it. But it was good. I didn't bother watching the remake for whatever reason because I'd seen the original one. So I kind of get the gist of it. And, no, it doesn't. The tagline is.
Any more films from the 51 list that took your interest?
Well, one of them that does take my interest, and again, it looks like it's a third part of a franchise I've not seen, but it is on my list of franchises to watch, and that's the latest entry in the Outpost. This is the Nazi zombie series, isn't it? I'm pretty sure you've seen at least Outpost 1 or Outpost 2.
I've seen both. I actually saw the first one at the cinema because it was actually released in the cinema. The first one. The second one, obviously, it went straight to direct to DVD. So again, it was two films that I've reviewed. So I've reviewed both films. But
and what were your thoughts on them? Good or
they're not too bad. The first one is a bit cheesy. It's I thought because it's set in a small little area, it loses its way a little bit. The second one tries to get past that by making it a bigger film. It has a bigger feel to it. With it being direct to DVD, you wouldn't have expected them to do that. You would have expected them to go in a completely opposite direction. And so it's a bit more violent than the original as well. So I could actually see myself watching this because then it's not a bad series, the Outpost series.
It is one of those series where I think I want to watch that, but as you and I have discussed on the many shows that we do, I mean, this is the third podcast that you and I have appeared on this week. And then there'll be another one at the end of the week. So we've both got very, very busy schedules and stuff. But so many films to watch. What else appears? What's your thoughts on the Hatchet movie? I mean, that's another franchise one.
Yeah, I've seen, again, it's another franchise that I've seen. Both I own Hatchet. I don't own Hatchet 2 because Hatchet 2 is terrible. Hatchet 3, Adam Green is, you can give or take him. He did a film for the ABCs of Death. A section in that, and it was a terrible, terrible section that he did for it. So you can give or take him. It looks better than the second one. It doesn't look as cheesy. It's got Zach Galligan, him from Gremlins.
Oh yes, I see him on Twitter now and again. Zach Galligan. It's like, hey, Zach.
He's in it. So yeah, I can give or take it. It looks okay, but it is one of those ones where I wouldn't actually rush out and specifically buy it.
So if it's on like Netflix or something, then just press play.
Yeah, pretty much.
Now I notice Andy's in the chat room. So do we have to tone down the scary talk in case he wets himself or something, or should we just carry on regardless? And if he pees himself, then so be it.
Yeah, that's his fault. Another one that's a part of a franchise. We're getting the franchise ones out the way with them first. Is Curse of Chucky. Now, have you seen the trailer for it?
You've seen the I haven't seen the trailer for it, but it got launched, was it last week or something? I think the trailer came out, wasn't it? It's pretty recent anyway.
Yeah, go to mondaymovieshow.co.uk and it's on there, because I put up the trailer on there a couple of nights ago. After the Monday Movie Show on Monday, I've actually put the trailer up then. So watch that, and I think they've took Chucky back to his old days. So instead of looking like the really demented, twisted thing that he looked in Bride of Chucky and Seed of Chucky, he looks more like Chucky from Child's Play 1, 2 and 3. So from the Child's Play series rather than from the Of Chucky series.
Fantastic. And is that a good thing for you? Are you happy to hear that they've done that?
Yeah, because Don Mancini's back on board as well. So it was Ronnie Zhu who did the Bride of Chucky. I can't remember who did Seed of Chucky because I don't think he was involved with it. But Don Mancini is back with doing the series, but I think he looks too much like a girl. if you watch the trailer, he looks like a girl.
And have we still got Brad Dourif doing the voice of Chucky?
Yes.
He's still back? Fantastic.
Yes. He's the only actor who's appeared in every single one of them. So he's back doing the voice of it. He's got the sinister voice of it, the laugh. I love that laugh that Chucky does. It's really, really creepy. But he's got the creepy nature of... He actually does look more like a toy this time. So it does add that sinister feel with it. The fact that the little girl in the trailer itself, who's got Chucky as a present, you could actually see this as a proper doll given to a kid, rather than the demented, twisted look that he does look in Bride and Seed. So it is gone back to him looking like a proper doll. But he looks too much like a girl, and that put me off a little bit.
But are you going to give it a go, just out of consistency, because you'll have seen all the other ones?
Yeah, because I like the Child's Play series. I do actually like the Child's Play series, even Seed of Chucky, even though it's a bit crap at times. I still quite like it.
I think that's the only one I've not seen. I think I checked out at Bride of Chucky, so I need to sort of pick up Seed of Chucky and then just, get up to speed, so to speak. But I'm pretty much a horror novice. I'm not a film novice, but I am a horror novice. So what excites you, Mr. Stu Miller, the movie ninja, about Frightfest 2013? Which golden nuggets have you set your sights on?
Well, Slater in the live chat here is saying Chucky is so weird it's good. That's exactly the way to say Chucky. Chucky is weird, it's good. I wrote down quite a few films. Out of the 51, there is a lot that's really interesting. I think they haven't gone for the extreme film this year. Because if you've noticed in Frightfests previously, you've had films like The Human Centipede. And I remember them even showing a Serbian film as well. So they haven't gone for the completely over-the-top extreme ones this year. But one that took my mind is We Are What We Are. You had a question there as well.
Yeah, I was just wondering, do you think they've taken out the extreme films on purpose for any reason to sort of make it a bit more mainstream? Or do you think it was just a case of this year there aren't any extreme films that sort of were worthy enough to be put in? Do you think it's a purpose decision that they've done?
Well, the most extreme one that I've seen so far, I'm guessing that they might be holding back on one or two because they haven't released trailers for every single one of the films. The most extreme trailer I saw was one for Frankenstein's Army, which is it is just set during World War II when the Germans were experimenting with they were into the occult and things like that, which has been shown in films like Hellboy and stuff like that. But with this one, it's them actually making an army out of bits from other members of the German army and making the ultimate Frankenstein monsters. There's multiple monsters in this one rather than just being one. And instead of it just being the standard monster that you see in Frankenstein, it's more twisted, over-the-top kind of look. The kind of thing that you would see in The Thing rather than a Frankenstein film. So that one I think is the most extreme that I've seen.
But how would you choose these films? I mean, you said yourself there's 51. So how would you just look at the schedules and think, right, I'm going to try and cram in as many as possible? Or would you do like a hit list and go, right, here's 10 that I really want to watch?
Well, I would actually, personally, myself, I would choose a hit list. But what about yourself? Because I wouldn't want to sit down and watch all 51 of them.
No, I don't think I could do. I certainly know that Andy couldn't do it. He'd be. I know I've seen some horror films as he was claiming and defending himself in the chat room there, but 51 is a bit too much to take. I think looking at the rundown for this year, there isn't any, because I'm not as knowledgeable on horror films as you are, there isn't anything that leaps out where I think, I really want to watch that one. So I think if I was going for this year's, I would actually just try and cram as many in as possible schedule-wise. 2011, if I'd have gone, I would have definitely watched Lockie McKee's The Woman, which was a hell of a surprise for a film for me because I knew nothing about it whatsoever. Pressed play and was just blown away. And looking at a lot of these films for 2013 I've never heard of, there has to be some awesome surprises in there. I'm sure there's a few duffers as well, which I'm sure you'd agree with. There's got to be a few bad films in there, but I'm sure there's got to be some gems that will sort of break out and become really, really big films. So I interrupted you a little bit anyway. What are you excited about on this rundown?
Because there's a lot of films there. We have 25 minutes left of this, and you've got to try and get through as many as you possibly can. There is We Are What We Are, which is the remake of the Brazilian film. That was the film I said to you last night when we were recording a podcast that I was going to watch today, but I didn't get round to watching it because I've got the original on DVD. But Jim Mickle is a really interesting director. I like him as a director, and he's the one who's handled this, We Are What We Are. And early indications are saying that it's a fantastic film. Because it is a film about a cannibal family, but it's not like an extreme cannibal film, so you don't see over-the-top cannibal stuff, because there is a film that's going to be shown at Grimfest called Sawney, Flesh of Man, which is a Scottish cannibal film, which that's an over-the-top cannibal film, but this one, it explores more of the family trying to survive, rather than you seeing the cannibal exploits in it.
Well, I'm glad you warned me about that one at Grimfest, because I am actually planning on attending Grimfest, so I'll remember that title when I see it and take a sick bag.
Yeah, there is one called Haunter, which I'm sure you've heard of the director Vincenzo Natali.
No. See, you credit me with more horror knowledge than I in fact have.
Well, you would have heard him if you know some of his films that he did. Cube, Splice.
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's Vincenzo
Natali.
Natali.
I have all the Cube films, so I should definitely know that guy's name, shouldn't I? I apologize.
Yeah, well, this one is sort of like Groundhog Day, this film. It centres around a family that died and they are ghosts. And it's set in 1985, and they have to relive every single that day over and over again because they were killed by a character called the Haunter, which is this horrible otherworldly being which kills people, and then obviously you have to keep on going through the day over and over again. However, the daughter of the family realizes that they are reliving the day over and over again and tries to sort of like break the monotony of it. So it's an interesting idea, and coming from him, he's a very visual director, Vincenzo Natali. So I'll be really eager to see that one. And Andy's saying the other two Cube movies aren't that good. Yeah, I actually do agree with them.
Yeah, I didn't mind them. They definitely don't raise up to the brilliance of the first one, but I quite enjoyed them. They weren't too bad. Seemed worse.
There's The Hypnotist by Lasse Hallström, which I had a little discussion with you yesterday about it. Lasse Hallström is a director who does dramas, romantic dramas, but this time he's doing a film where it's about a hypnotist who hypnotizes a young boy to try and find the serial killer. So it's got an interesting idea, so if you need to see the trailer for that one as well, it looks a really interesting film.
Now, are you going to be posting a lot of these trailers up over the coming weeks on your Monday Movie Show website, or
no?
Shall I go hunt for them?
Yeah, you'll have to hunt for them, because what I normally do is about a month before Frightfest is shown. That's when you get most of the trailers out. I trudge through all the trailers that are available, and I choose the 5 films that I think people should keep an eye out for. So that normally goes up. It'll probably go up at the end of this month, early next month, on the site on mondaymovieshow.co.uk.
Fantastic. I shall look out for that.
You've heard of Bobcat Goldthwait?
Oh, you certainly have. I was a massive Police Academy fan. Yeah.
Yeah, because he's a director. He's a very, very weird director. The films that he's made are very strange. But the film that he is shown at Frightfest is actually a pet project of his. It's called Willow Creek, and it's about Bigfoot. And it's about the sightings of Bigfoot. And I was actually told about this movie by somebody else. There's a podcast called The Time Warriors. And I was on there, and I was told by the host of The Time Warriors about this, to keep an eye out for it. And now it's being shown at Frightfest.
Very nice. So is this a serious film, or is it like I mean, Bobcat Goldthwait, I know him predominantly as a comedy actor and stuff. So is this going to be like a tongue-in-cheek type funny movie, or is it going to be a horror film?
It's a serious film.
Fantastic.
Yeah, he was describing the film and how he went about shooting it, etc. So there isn't a trailer out for it at the moment, but from the sounds of it and what he described, it sounds pretty good actually. And there isn't very many Bigfoot films around, and if there is, they're rubbish.
There isn't. There was one out a few months back called, was it the Bigfoot Tapes, which the cover art looked pretty atrocious, so I never even delved into the film.
Yeah, I wouldn't watch it. It sounds terrible.
It is.
Then one I'll leave for last because I've already seen it. I've already said about Big Bad Wolves. There is one that is really attracted my attention. It's called You're Next. And this one has been shown at a lot. IGN was the first site where I saw the first information about this film. And it's just the typical, a family eating their lunch, a few people come in to invade this family's house. They take this family hostage. However, there are more horrible people on the outside trying to battle against the people on the inside. And it honestly, you really do need to see the trailer for it. It looks fantastic. Have you seen a film called The Strangers?
This is, why am I thinking Liv Tyler?
Yep, it is
That's
that film.
the one, yeah. I'm not sure if I've seen that film or whether I got that film from Love Film and just didn't have the chance to watch it. But I'm fully aware of that film. But I'm not sure whether I watched it or not. I think I may have done.
It's got a very similar feel to The Strangers. And so I really like The Strangers. I had one of the worst experiences at the cinema going to see The Strangers because it was the noisiest, most annoying screening I have ever been to.
I mean, Your Next is gathering a lot of PR and stuff in the States. That's a Lionsgate one, isn't it? And a lot of people who have seen the film or are aware of all the information on it are saying this is going to be like a huge film. Now, whether that's just Lionsgate saying this film's going to be massive, therefore go watch it. But it's coming from like podcasters and journalists who are saying this is one of the big films to come out.
Yeah, Andy in the live chat, co-host of the Monday Movie Show, said David showed the trailer for Your Next at my local, which I was surprised about. It looks good. It looks really good. Don't know when it's going to be out, but not sure.
No, I'm gonna have a nosy while we chat on that. Is that actually a horror film that Andy will go and watch at cinema though?
Probably, maybe.
Very good.
Yeah, it's got a very similar feel to my mind. I don't know why my mind is blank. And there's a film that both me and him actually quite liked. It's an home invasion film, The Purge. It's got a very similar feel to The Purge. Actually, there is one film that I'm going to leave till last because I'm actually going to close out with this film because I have a TV spot for this film.
Apparently, just to bump in there, Your Next comes out in the US on the 23rd of August this year. So we should probably get it like a month after, maybe.
Andy's just put in the live chat 28th of August here.
There you go, that works.
Yeah, so whether that's true or not.
Fits in, doesn't it? Yep, according to the IMDb, 28th of August 2013, we get Your Next.
Awesome. Next film, The Demon's Rook, which I saw the trailer for it on Bloody Disgusting's website a few days ago, and they described it as it's a low-budget independent horror film with some of the best visual effects you'll have ever seen. It's not CGI effects, it's just visual and normal standard visual effects. I watched the trailer for it and it looks really bad.
Oh no. See, you were getting me all excited there because you and I were chatting about visual effects and practical effects being awesome, and you were doing well until you said it looks really bad. It's a shame.
Yeah, because we follow people on Twitter from the Expedition film, isn't it? They're called Expedition the film, or
yes.
Yeah, so we follow them, and they're going for more practical effects over CGI effects. And so that's got our interest, and I watched their third teaser trailer that they put up, and it's still making me interested in what they're doing. This looks really bad. The budget on it looks really small. You can tell that they've used all the budget on the effects themselves. The makeup is fantastic, what they're using, but the film looks god-awful.
Does a piece of your heart just sort of die when you think this film is going to be good, and then you look at the trailer and it's just not? Do you just sink?
Yeah, when you get the description going, ooh, this might actually pique my interest, and then you think, nah, this looks terrible. I'm definitely sure you've heard of a film called The Zombie Diaries.
I have indeed. Again, it's not one I've seen, but I am aware of it.
Yeah, I've got both of them on DVD because I managed to pick up the second one in a pound shop.
Wow.
So, yeah, I've got them both on DVD. Well, the directors of The Zombie Diaries are going away from zombies and they're going to the paranormal instead. And ironically, their new film is called The Paranormal Diaries.
Hey. Do you not get a bit fed up of films that use the word paranormal in the title?
Well, I'm thinking that the directors of this could have actually come up with a more interesting title because they've gone from the Zombie Diaries to the Paranormal Diaries. When they switch to a different subject, are they going to go the Werewolf Diaries or something like that? The Vampire Diaries, then they'll get sued.
The Fairy Diaries, yeah.
Oh, the Fairy Diary. That'll be
The
really
Adrian
bad.
Hall Diaries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oy. There's another film called Missionary. Well, I had to just bring this up because it's the first time that I've ever heard a film being called a Godsploitation film. A Godsploitation, so it's a Godsploitation. I've never heard of a movie being described as that.
I haven't. No, I really, really haven't. Never heard of the Godsploitation.
Yeah, it's just about a missionary who goes on a rampage, a psychopathic rampage. He's sick of people dissing him when he's knocking on the door, asking, do you believe in Jesus and things like that, so he goes on a murderous rampage.
Nice.
Yep, I had to bring that one up. The other one, which I'm surprised is getting shown at Frightfest, is Odd Thomas.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard of this one.
I haven't, no. Go on, educate me, sir.
You'll have heard of the director Stephen Sommers.
Yes.
Yep, The Mummy and things like that. And this one stars Anton Yelchin as well.
Okay. Yeah.
What's the trailer? The trailer looks really interesting, and it's just about somebody who can see the dead, and he has to try and find the people who killed the dead. Yeah, it does sound like Priest with a shotgun. Like Priest with a shotgun. I'm guessing he's referring to Missionary, not Odd Thomas.
No.
Yeah, but Odd Thomas is it's sort of like a blockbuster-esque horror film. The kind of thing like Priest or something like that. Like done on a blockbuster kind of scale. That it's a big. He might have a big budget because it is Stephen Sommers.
Yeah. Although, to be fair, he did also do Van Helsing, so maybe his purse strings cut a little bit. But he's been quiet for... It's terrible, isn't it? But Stephen Sommers, at one point, he was like a really hot next thing, and then he kind of blew it. So he's not been... You know, he did Deep Rising and the Mummy films and stuff like that. But he's been quiet for a while, I believe, isn't he?
Yeah. So... And that's it. But I'm going to leave the final... Well, VHS 2 is the one that I've already seen already. I tried to find a clip for VHS 2 to play out from this, but yeah, there's no way I could find a clip for that film because you would have just heard a lot of screaming and shotguns going off and stuff.
Yeah.
So it takes the original idea of VHS. It's a couple who break into this house. They find all these VHS tapes around, and the woman from this couple watches each one of these VHS tapes. And each one of these VHS tapes is one of the films in the film itself. It's 4 films in one with a wraparound story. It's actually slightly better than the original VHS. It's more gorier, much more insane. Gareth Evans, who did The Raid, he's done one of the films in VHS. And his is about a cult. And honestly, you'll just want to step away from any kind of cult if you see that section. It is really nuts. It's extremely nuts. But it is really good. I really liked VHS 2.
Fantastic. I've actually got VHS 1 on my list of many, many films. It sounds like I don't watch any films. We really do. But yeah, we just watch lots of different types of films. But with the film for Fright, what would be, if you were able to attend, what would be the most exciting reason for you to attend? Not necessarily, it could be anything. It could be a film that's on there. It could be the fact that there's 50-odd films to choose from. But what would excite Stu Miller to go to Frightfest?
It's just the fact that I'll be around people who want to talk about horror. Because there's very few people that I know that are really into horror films. And just being able to sit down and probably go on for hours and hours on end. I remember having one conversation with somebody, and we were still speaking until like 3-4 o'clock in the morning, talking about horror films. And so it's just talking about horror films and watching horror films with like-minded people who'll sit down and watch the film properly rather than treating it like a laughing track. Like when I went to see The Strangers, they were laughing at the masks that the people were wearing and stuff. And I was just thought, you do not get this film at all. I'm in a room full of idiots.
Yeah. So to be in a room surrounded by people who appreciate horror films as much as you would be pretty awesome.
Yeah. What about yourself?
To me, it's the films do interest me, but it's more similar to what you've just said, being around people that have the same sort of interest. But it's actually having access to the people that make the films. So the directors of some of these films will be there, the producers, some of the stars. They have Q&A panels. Looking at the ticket information, because I was actually planning on attending Frightfest, but now sort of things have come up, and the money that we'd be using for the whole Frightfest thing, including accommodation, may get shifted somewhere else. So I did look into the whole thing, and they have sort of the tickets they've got festival passes, and then some access to a media wall. Now that gets you interviews with some of these people, so you could go down, you could actually have a chat to, the directors of the Dead 2 India if you wanted to, or the stars. On the Blu-ray of The Woman, they have the Q&A that I think there's 5 or 6 filmmakers. Lucky McKee was there who did The Woman. Is it Ty West, the filmmaker as well? He was on there, and a bunch of others. And this thing on the Blu-ray, they sat down for 45 minutes and just chatted about the state of the horror industry, what was wrong with it, how they would make it better, and to just sit in an auditorium and just watch these people that make the films. That would be amazing. So that would be the reason that I go. Not so much for the films, but to actually hear from the people that craft these things.
Yeah, well, obviously, I would actually want to see some really good films as well, but...
Always a bonus. Yeah.
I completely agree with that. It is just that kind of thing. You've got Comic-Con for nerds who are really into their comics, into Marvel and DC and stuff like that. And with festivals like Frightfest, it is specifically for one genre of film. Yeah, they have branched out a little bit over the years. They show a bit more sci-fi, a bit more comedy. They even have their film shorts, which some of them are really interesting. There was one from last year called Banana Mother Expletive Word. And It was just about to kill a banana. And nowhere can you actually see films like that. So it's just being able to speak to even people who created movies like Banana Mother Fudger. Yeah. It's just finding out how they came up with the idea for that kind of film, how they created it, just getting into the minds of how a film like that is created. It would just be... I wouldn't actually want to go home. They would have to throw me out.
And I think that's the thing. You go to this thing, it's 4 days, and a lot of people think that sounds enduring. 4 days watching horror films, you'd be so tired by the end of it. I'm sure you would, but I think once you get home and you're back in your hometown, it's like the holiday blues would hit you, I think, and you would instantly just want to go back. And I think once you go to one of these things, you'd then think, right, I want to go to them all. You've got Film 4 Frightfest in August in London, and you've got Grimfest, which I think is October, in Manchester. So there are a couple of them. I'm hoping there is one sort of up north for you.
Yeah, the closest I get is because Empire are the ones who host Frightfest. They only have 16 cinemas across the country, Empire, and one of them is actually in Sunderland. And every Halloween they show 4 films from Frightfest over one night. And for the last few Halloweens, there actually been rubbish selections. I'm hoping that they'll choose 4 good films for this year, and if that's the case, I'm going. Because the tickets is only like £10 for the 4 films. You get like 20-minute gap between each film. So I'm definitely going if that's the case.
See, that is your idea of a day well spent, isn't it? That
night. Actually, it doesn't begin until 11 o'clock at night, and you're there until about 6 o'clock the next morning.
Fantastic.
So it fully runs through the night, so that's what I'm interested in. Before we disappear, have you chosen 5 films from the 51 that you're interested in? Or just a couple?
I have actually gone for, and obviously it's because I do the British movie show, so I would actually target the British films. Now, just to cheat, I've actually got them in the press release, so yay. If I was not doing a British movie show, I'd go for things like Chucky, because I'm aware of the Chucky brand. I would probably go for I Spit on Your Grave 2. VHS 2 I would probably pick up because I'd watched the first one in advance. But with the British ones, I'm going to go for Outpost. I need to watch the first 2. And I want to watch something called The Borderlands, which kind of looks a little bit creepy, again, paranormal. But I don't know whether I'm all burned out on the ghosty type things. And I'd probably give The Dead 2 India a go. I know you said the first one wasn't very good, but the guy sent me a press release at some point. So I just wish Expedition the movie was ready to go into Frightfest. Maybe that'll go in next year.
Probably, yeah. For myself... I would have to choose Curse of Chucky because I'm a big Child's Play fan. We Are What We Are, even though I've still yet to watch the original. I will definitely watch the original. but because I do like Jim Mickle anyway. I think he's a fantastic director. I definitely want to see Haunter from Vincenzo Natali, because I like the way, even though Splice isn't a brilliant film, it still had interesting ideas, so I definitely want to see that. I'm very interested in what Lasse Hellström can do with a film that isn't a romantic drama. So I would say The Hypnotist as well. And the fifth one is a bit of a difficult one for me. I'm not sure about I Spit on Your Grave. Odd Thomas looks really interesting, but just out of curiosity, and I'm going to play out with this one, R.I.P.D. Because it looks like Men in Black, but slightly more witty and quippy. But it still looks a bit rubbish though, so I'm not sure about it. And it is the most mainstream film that is shown at this year's Frightfest.
Well, I'm going to throw in something called Rewind This, which is apparently a VHS documentary. Now, if that is in fact a documentary about horror films on VHS, I'm hooked. Because horror is one of those genres that's got like one of the best movie history things ever. So I would happily watch that if it is in fact what it looks like.
Yep. So that's it for this Frightfest special. Make sure you check out my website, and Andy's in the live chat as well. His website is mondaymovieshow.co.uk. And Stuart, do you want to reel off your details?
If you jump onto Google, just put in from page to screen. That's the number 2, not the word 2, and it'll bring you my blog, all my podcasts, and everything up. Again, stick it in iTunes, and it'll bring up both the shows. One of them, which Stu Miller awesomely co-hosts.
Yeah, and Andy, who's in the live chat, is also on your other one that you do. So you have both of us on different shows that you do.
Certainly do. So you guys are very, very busy. And it's appreciated the work you put into my shows as well. So thank you very much.
Yeah, and make sure that you give us all ratings on each one of on iTunes, not for just my show, but for also Stuart's shows as well, because we appreciate when we see a 5-star rating and a nice comment. It always brightens our day when we see something like that. But make sure you do that. As I said, I'm going to play you out with there isn't any clips released for this at the moment, but it's a nicely put together TV spot for R.I.P.D., which gives you a sort of like feel of what the film is like. This is going to be shown at this year's Frightfest. Don't know when it's officially out in the UK, but I think it's got its premiere at Frightfest. But check this out, and we will be back with a normal show for the Monday Movie Show on Monday at 7:30, where we will be reviewing Monsters University and Pacific Rim. So until then, goodbye.
Where am I?
Officer Walker, you're dead. Tough day. Welcome to the R.I.P.D. Rest in Peace Department.
Come on, rookie. Here's the deal. Our job is catching bad souls that escaped the afterlife. Bag it, tag it, and bury it deep.
That's sick.
I don't know what else to shoot you between. There's something else. You don't look like you anymore.
What do I look like? Really? An old Chinese guy? What about you? Well, I guess you win, Roy.
If the dead take over, that's it for the living world.
I've never seen that before.
I got this.
You were supposed to contain.
Didn't contain.
I'm okay. Nothing to see. Gotta go.
R.I.P.D. Rated PG-13.